Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. How's that bite? I'm Miguel Malenciano and this is Evolution Angler Bassin. And today we have another What's in the Box for you. A special one, courtesy of Chase Baits, Brood X edition. Every 17 years, the cicadas come around, and this year we have Brood X cicada. And this class of cicadas is going to be emerging any day now. So what I have in my hands here is going to be the Chase Baits Ripple Cicada. Take it out of the package here. So what you're gonna have here is gonna be a topwater crawler, and again, this is imitating a natural cicada. I specifically got this lure in the red eye color. The red eye color, I try to go as natural as possible so I could work this in dirty or clear water. I'm imitating the magic cicada, which is an emergent cicada here in the Northeast, New York. It's going to be typically a black cicada with red eyes and pronounced wings, and this bad boy here, though it's not black, it sort of fits the profile. You got the red eyes, you got the dark, and this electric blue, midnight blue going, and the pronounced wings. So again, this is going to be a topwater crawler. This is going to be 1.75 inches, and it's going to weigh, it's going to be a pretty light lure. It's going to weigh 0.21 of an ounce, so 0.2 of an ounce really. So this is going to be a hollow body lure, but as you can see here by the touch, it's pretty firm but soft at the same time. It does have a cavity, but not too big of a cavity, more here at the tail end of the bug. What attracted me to this lure and why I went with the Chase Baits version, and there's other versions and we'll circle back to that. I do have a couple honorable mentions on my list, but this is advertised to touch down as a real cicada, like real lifelike feel when it touches down. I don't see myself fishing this in a lot of big water situations, more your shallow water, more your finessier approaches. So again, on top of the natural color, the feel, and that natural touchdown, I ended up going with the Chase Baits. And then this does have an instant crawl, so it is going to be pretty user friendly. And keep that in mind, if you don't have much experience with walking / crawling baits, then I would lean more toward this right here. But again, there are other versions out there. All right, so the gear to use. So I would prototypically throw this lure here on a medium light to medium spinning rod or a medium bait casting rod. But just keep in mind that you're dealing with a light lure here. So if you opt to go with the medium bait casting rod, two things: be sure that it's going to have a little bit of a soft tip, so when you're working the lure, you're not overpowering it with A, the line, or B, the rod. B, make sure that your bait caster settings are dialed and pretty tuned for a light lure. So play around with it, give it a couple turn of the knobs, and you should be all good to go. Just avoid getting a backlash this first couple casts. Pretty much everyone outside of those that own a DC bait caster, if you don't know that about this lure, then yeah, you're pretty susceptible to catching a backlash right away. So this is going to be a lot like a popper in the sense of you're going to want to cause a lot of commotion relatively in one area, so you're going to want to work the bait in place. With that being said, I'm going to want to use lower speed reels. So talking about a bait caster, I'm going to want to stick anywhere with a 5 or a 6, and if we're talking about a spinning reel, then a 1000 should be that sweet spot. You don't want to go too slow because it'll give the fish an advantage if you're pulling them from cover to jump back into cover. So I'd stay on the mid-range or the lower end. All right, how to fish this. Again, if you use a bait caster, just be sure to adjust your settings. And this, you're going to want to fish this obviously during cicada season, when the cicadas are touching down, or when you can visibly see the fish are breaching and hitting bugs, anything on top, making bait fish jump up. But besides that, real early, midday if there's a midday topwater bite, or real late. So basically low light conditions, or when these fish are tucked deep into cover, and there's a midday bite going and you can pull them out, then prototypically that would be good for one of those days. You want to fish this around laydowns, pad edges, holes in pads, slowly or varied retrieve over expansive grass flats. But most of all, the sweet spot for this, for me, is going to be in the back of those shallow coves. And by shallow, I'm talking 3 feet of water, 4 feet of water at the most, maybe 5. Or along banks with that same relative depth. And the reason I say 3, 4, 5 feet of water is because you're working a topwater lure here that you don't want to spook the fish. You want to work relatively in place but still draw attention, and to me that 3, 4, 5 feet of water is that sweet spot where you don't necessarily spook the fish, especially if you're in crystal clear water, but will still draw attention if you're in somewhat stained, dirty water. It makes for an interesting bite too. So again, this is best if you work it slow, but if you vary your retrieve, it's okay. You know, it's always all right to figure out what the fish want. It's best for them to let you know. Remember, slow down around key and prime pieces of cover, because this is a lure that you're going to want to, again, draw fish out of cover for. One little interesting hack, I don't mean twitching away like a jerk bait, but if you work this rod a little bit different with twitches, you'll see you can sort of get it to pop instead of just crawling. You can get it to pop like a popper. One little side note, one little hack there. And this does come in a variety of colors. And to me, this is going to work in clear, in between, like middle of the road water, or straight up chocolate milk. You just have to know what color to get. The clearer the water, the more natural or the more translucent I would go, and the more stained the water, I would go more bolder colors. If you have that in between, you could always go with a color that may have a little ghost in it but still some vibrant colors to it. You know, it's all on you. Just be sure you are ready for Brood X. This is one lure that I found to be exceptional, the Chase Baits Ripple Cicada. Next from Chase Baits, we're gonna have Chase Baits Flacid Shad, and I ended up getting this in the plum color. I'll go ahead and take it out of the package for you so you can have a nice little view. Glamour shot. And you'll see right away why I ended up getting this lure, what attracted it to me. You're gonna have that nice, literally plastic tail. It looks a lot like bleed over. If you make lures at all, you make soft plastic lures with the molds, then you know what I'm talking about. This looks like some bleed, but it's an actual part of the design. I'm gonna consider this a hybrid soft plastic lure. It does have the profile of a shad, and it's probably most commonly used as Texas rig, though it does have a wide variety of ways to use. I'll circle back to that in a bit. You know, but at the end you have so many segments here, and then that bleed like plastic, that webbing, if you will. You know, it fishes a lot, like a combination of a swim bait and like a curly tail worm, or like a grub with, again, the ribbon at the end. It's just a hybrid lure to me. And then on top of that, you know, it does come in a wide variety of great colors. It is double scented and it is salted, so it was definitely a go for me. This was the one last color available, plum. I guess a lot of people have shared the same opinion that I did, and you know, I just snatched it up. Okay, so let's talk about the gear. I would prototypically use this on a medium to medium heavy bait cast, and on a 6 or a 7 speed reel, on 12 to 15 pound braid, on a 10 to 12 pound fluoro leader, or straight up 10 to 12 pound fluoro. But just remember, once you go fluoro, you lose a lot of that sensitivity, and some of these presentations are pretty much dependent on sensitivity. Some of them, like a Carolina rig, you may not even feel the bite to fish is running off in the other direction, so just keep that in mind. So how to fish this? You can fish this as a Texas rig, as a Carolina punch rig, Tokyo rig, power shot, but the best application that I found gonna be as a trailer, specifically one as a chatterbait trailer, number 2 as a spinnerbait trailer. With the chatterbait trailer, I mean, I just wrecked it. So you have a couple different varieties of trailers that you can use for chatterbait. This is more along the lines of that live action, that erratic trailer that you could put on a chatterbait. Once I paired this up with a jackhammer, it was just off to the races. And you know, I just really couldn't find myself using it any other way. So for me, I'm gonna end up just using them straight up as chatterbait trailers. It's just that perfect touch to the chatterbait. Again, you know, options are wide open for you. You could use it again as a Carolina rig, Texas rig. Texas rig would probably be my secondary option. Fishing, they're good. And because there's such a wide variety in terms of the spectrum of how to fish this, I'm definitely gonna leave specifically how to fish this in terms of around what cover or what structure, up to you. The conditions, or rather times when you fish a Texas rig, might be completely different than the times that you'll fish a Carolina rig. So it's really, you know, again, on the user. All I can tell you is that it's a pretty user-friendly bait, and you know, table's wide open. Then one last item here from Chase Baits. Looks like they included a nice little decal. Just going on the Kayak. Yes, sir. You know, not a bad deal from Chase Baits. So just make sure you are ready for cicada season this year. I did say I was going to circle back to a couple honorable mentions, and I'll do that now. So there were a couple different options that I could have went with in terms of the cicadas for cicada season. My number one honorable mention is going to be that dual Realis Dekashinmushi. That is definitely a mouthful. I'll leave links down in the description for you to go ahead and check some of these other baits out as well. Everything that you saw in this video today. Another honorable mention is going to be that MegaBass Grand Siglett. So between the Chase Baits, the dual Realis, and the MegaBass, those three are definitely good middle tier to upper quality in terms of price point lures. However, if you are on a budget, I do have two other options for you. You're gonna have that Savage Gear 3D Cicada with a realistic look. You know, you really can't beat that for the price, you know, less than 10 bucks, I believe. And then you have one more option. This one's not a top water. This is gonna be a crank. It's an oldie but goodie. The Rebel Bumblebug. It's gonna have a couple different colors, trying to imitate a couple different profiles in terms of mosquitoes, bumblebees. But on a budget and in a pinch, it'll get the job done. And again, even though it's crankbait, I'm telling you, it'll work. It gets bit. So yeah, those are the honorable mentions for the cicada lure. Then we do have one more package coming courtesy Fish USA, and this is gonna call for an episode, boat mod episode. It's gonna be the low profile anchoring system by Anchor, and it's about time to take a look at what I've been working with here. You know, some good old mountain man ingenuity, but so much weight on the yak, me getting out earlier in the season and staying out later in the season, fighting these winds and these cold hands, it's about time that we moved on up. So we got 1, 2 low profile anchoring systems by Anchor Wizard, and basically come complete. This is what the system looks like. So with the mounting hardware, you have the chute, you have the knob that works clockwise, counterclockwise. Yeah, you got one for the front, one for the back. Thank you, Anchor Wizard. Thank you, Fish USA. Definitely clutch there. And I'm gonna dedicate a whole boat mod episode to those boys. It's gonna be a pretty big job. Did have to order another hatch for the front. I'm not sure if I'm gonna end up getting tracks. I may just attach directly to the yak. These are here to stay. Yeah, that's gonna cover it all for today in terms of what's in the box. Again, be sure to be ready for Brood X. The time is here. I know June is the time. If you already have a cicada lure, do not be afraid to use it. You know, go out and practice. You don't have to wait till you actually see cicadas. It's a lure, it's a bug lure. It's gonna get bit. Apart from that, it's what's in the box. Comment, like, subscribe. Miguel Malenciano. This is Evolution Angler Bassin. We'll catch you next time.